I'm delighted today to be joined by one of STL's customers, Alan Lewis from Antec, who provide customer equipment, measurement services and technical expertise in the nuclear industry. Welcome, Alan.
Hello.
Now, it's pretty evident that a lot has changed in the last year. There has been a radical change to the way we communicate, both as a customer and within our teams. We have adapted quickly to some form of remote working. I'm sure I'm not alone, though, in never wanting to go back to working from my kitchen table with a million video calls on a day using my home broadband connection. And whilst many businesses will continue to adopt flexible working structures with a combination of remote and office working, the focus is also now not only on having the right tools in place to make sure that they are secure with sufficient increase of data breaches, phishing attacks, viruses and ransomware. And as cash is king, reviewing how we pay for business services has now also come under the spotlight, with many businesses now looking to subscription pricing in order to get more flexibility and better value for money. What this means is that we are really now in uncharted waters, with every business facing a slightly new normal depending upon what actions they took in the last 12 months. So, how do you ensure that your business is ready for whatever comes next, whatever that may be? This leads nicely into my first discussion area. After a year that has been like no other, Alan, how has business been for Antec?
Well, Antec in the nuclear industry, you'd think the nuclear industry was a place where you would work at distance anyway. The situation, however, started to impact, the COVID restrictions, etc., began to impact even our industry, which was a bit unexpected. As I say, we work at distance anyway, because of communications and IT, rather than because of getting the work done itself. We found that where people were sent disparately around the country, rather than work from their central offices, that their level of technology did not align with the normal approach of being put through by telephone to somebody you need to speak to progress the projects that you're trying to develop on. So in the same way that other companies that are non-nuclear probably had a bigger impact, we saw the impact come back from an IT perspective, and that is what made us look at the IT infrastructure that we have, and especially the phones service and infrastructure. We ourselves looked at budgets of our customers, and we concluded that budgets were being stalled, held back, money retained because people were unaware of what was going to happen. So we moved to try to reduce the capital purchase budgets of our customers by providing our technology, which in some cases is up to £1 million an instrument. We provide that as a service, removing ownership costs, service and maintenance costs, decommissioning costs, and all the other costs in the nuclear industry of owning a piece of equipment. And we would put our operators on a plant and we would lease our product, charging by the drum, by the project, by the time frame. So that reduced the customer's need for large budgets. It was just a slight modification of our approach, using our own technology still, which then made the year quite successful for us.
That's really interesting. So, as well as change to how we've been working, there has also been changes to how we consider the role of IT. Before the pandemic, I think that IT and communication was typically seen by many businesses as something of a commodity and not a priority. However, with it now firmly under the spotlight and so much of the business now depends on it, many businesses are viewing it differently, and this includes how it's purchased and paid for. It's funny, really. In our consumer lives, we are used to subscription pricing. We lease our cars, pay monthly for IT entertainment, TV entertainment, and also upgrade our tech, such as phones, as soon as possible. What many businesses don't realise is that you can use the same model of technology in business, where you can procure IT hardware and software, such as laptops and collaboration software, for a per user monthly cost. This is what we call tech as a service. Think of it as Netflix for business. So Alan, we've recently completed an IT upgrade and refresh with yourselves, including using the tech as a service model. Would you mind giving us an overview in terms of your business requirements, the decision-making process, and how the project went?
Right, we are, as I said, an SME. We are employ around 16 people, so that makes us different to others. But we are a very high cost organisation. I shouldn't say that on recording, but it does cost to employ nuclear physicists and chemists, etc. So I was astounded when I came to the company and saw laptops in use that ranged from 2 years old to probably 10 years old, maybe older. They've been swapped. You'll recognize this. Some people will recognize this who's listening. They've been swapped between people because it's not too bad. This one, you can have that one. Obviously, there's software on it that you don't need, that makes the system slower, reduces the efficiency of it, effectiveness of it. We had laptops like that, a real mismatch of laptops and desktops that, as I say, ranged in age and capability. They were very slow. The frustration the staff felt when they were trying to carry out their work, which is very time limited in some circumstances, it was the frustration of the tech, not the problem. I saw this, and so I looked at our servers. We had 3 or 4 servers, which we own, laptops, which there are probably 10 or 12 of, desktops there are 3 or 4 of. These were AutoCAD type systems, so they're quite big in memory terms. And the licenses alignment of everybody's laptop and PC, we needed to make sure that we don't fall foul of license agreements, because the people also that was, I noted, that were servicing our technologies, were servicing our laptops and desktops, what they were really doing was tinkering about with them to make sure they stayed working. Yeah. This isn't the same as aligning them for the business's use. When we had the ISO audit 9001 and 17025, they identified there was a risk to the company in IT, in the IT area, the IT infrastructure area. It wasn't a non-compliance, but it was a note. We don't need that in our industry as a note on our audits. So to control the risk on our risk registers, I took the view that we needed to look carefully at having SQEP resource, that suitably qualified and experienced resource, to actually support the software, support the servers, support the laptops and support the desktops, rather than have people tinkering with it. I wanted the company to look aligned so that when a project manager, project engineer and a salesman went out to a client, they had the same laptop, not different laptops. They were modern. They were big enough to operate at the right pace. I also, when the COVID restrictions hit, we found that suddenly everybody's working disparately. Even us from our office, we couldn't go into our office. Having a mismatch of laptops, some that work with modern Wi-Fi, some that don't, issues that were raised with the software on each person's laptop. As they came across the issue, there was no central point. There was just this bloke who lives somewhere in Wallingford that will possibly have a look at it next week to see if it'll work and if we can upgrade, that kind of approach. This is, for a company like us, a catastrophe. So I went out and asked STL and 2 or 3 other companies, could they offer a service around replacing laptops, desktops, align licenses, and look after the servers, rationalize the number of servers we've got to the right size, and support our infrastructure in a professionally SQEP manner. Right, that's very important. it turns out that buying the laptops, okay, it's a couple of £100, I think, a laptop dearer to lease it than it is to buy it over the period. But then again, you don't have all the ownership costs. You don't have an IT person tinkering about with everything. You don't have an IT department to fund. You don't have maintenance and service costs. You have a call center that you can call into, or a service desk you can call into, which we have used mainly due to our not understanding the technology yet, probably, rather than an issue. But within 2 hours, usually, we've got everything resolved, and it's done at a distance. So someone logs into your computer and sorts the problem out, and it go away. This, for us, means that we can concentrate on our core business, as we're only a small resource of 15, 16 people, rather than focus some of their time on trying to maintain degrading, depreciating assets like old laptops. The same with the phone system. That was one of the biggest things. We found that while you're in an office, you can put people through to each other. There's no problem. When we then tried to contact our customers who didn't have the kind of Horizon type system that we now have, you couldn't contact them because they wouldn't give out mobiles, and therefore the speed of communication around their side of the operation, the customer side, was very slow. This led to massive delays in projects, and everybody who's on this call will know that the person they blame for any delay is the supplier, not them. So I looked at replacing all the handsets for the same reason of replacing these laptops, that they are all modern. But STL pointed out that you could have an apps system on these laptops where the laptop acts as a phone. You have a headset if you want a headset that plugs into a USB port. You have an app which is on your mobile. So you don't have to give your mobile number out. They phone the work number, and the work number comes through on your communications. You can phone other extension 223 and talk to the MD on your phone, on your laptop. All of this can be leased, and I found that the costs of ownership, of depreciating assets, etc., versus the cost of having all this replaced and managed as a tech as a service, if that's the phrase. Yeah. Service and maintenance supported for 3 years, the life of the laptops. I found was almost the same price as we were paying a disparate group of people who argued all the time that it was the other person's fault that it wasn't working. The costs were virtually aligned.
Wow, that's amazing. So finally, it's clear that we are not quite out of the woods yet with a slightly more settled yet still uncertain few months ahead of us. However, despite these challenges and increased efficiencies and productivity, and growth is on the agenda for every business. So Alan, what does the future look like for Antec, and how important is the role of technology in enabling this and making it a reality?
In my view, as you said sometime in the introduction, actually, I used to view IT, computers, etc., as a commodity, as you do your mobile phone. But when you lose your mobile phone, what happens?
Yeah.
Right. So I now see it, especially with the ISO 9001 and 17025 risk identification that was raised about cybersecurity, viruses, ransomware. We had ransomware attacks on us before we were with STL, and it was too easy with old laptops, old computers. STL have helped us incredibly in that area. I believe that it is a priority because now working disparately, you need to cut down this time wasting exercise of trying to identify where you can contact somebody's mobile, if you're allowed to, because it's a mobile and they won't give it out, the number out. So you need if everybody had this sort of system where it mattered not where in the country they were, they could answer the phone on their laptop, they can answer it on their mobile, and it went through the works system, I think it would speed everything up and stop the problems and challenges we see in progress being stifled because of a simple tool. Well, for me, it seems simple. I don't understand it.
So you're saying for people, it's made using the tech as a service and the technology refresh, it's made it easier for your customers to be able to get hold of your team.
Absolutely, and more importantly, or not more, as importantly, me to get hold of the team, they to get hold of each other.
Yeah.
And to phone a client up and ask from wherever they are using the company's phone without having to claim back the money because they've used their mobile, you know, this kind of thing. And when they phone, it comes up as Antex calling them, not Anthony on his mobile.
Yeah.
So it's professional, it's professionalism, it's removing the service and maintenance from your own company because you're not actually that good at it. You think you are, even if you've got a good IT department. Well, maybe they could be okay, but it's not your core business. You should focus on that, cut the costs in the other areas, and apply this to getting tech as a service. I think is a very good idea, and for us, it's cost us a few £100 more than the old system that we had, where we were watching things degrade.
Yeah, and I guess it's good that it's bite-sized amounts. As opposed to a big lump sum that you've got to.
Well, capital budgets are crushed at the moment because people just will not allow. You couldn't go out and buy 15 laptops as a company because they say just make do for the time being. Let's see what happens with this. See if Boris Johnson sorts this out properly.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, it's really interesting as well. From our perspective, sourcing during the COVID period that we're still in, it's very hard to source technical equipment. But from where we source it from ourselves, where you use tech as a service, our suppliers actually, they search the internet to collect that equipment, which is nigh on impossible to get at the moment.
Well, this was sorry to butt in, but this was crucial to us because. As we try to upgrade this system that we have, others being made to be disparate workers realized they needed laptops because they had desktops.
Sure.
Suddenly, demand outstrips supply, and you end up with massive prices.
Yeah.
And if you're buying them from a budget, a capital budget, that's going to depreciate hugely. More importantly, when you try to change it, it's almost a loss. That'll get cheaper because demand will reduce.
Absolutely.
So I thought that it was the appropriate way to do it. I think it's the service and maintenance is the main thing. It's all supported. And that for me is critical when you've got a resource that you want to strip back to focus on winning yourself more business of the business that's core to your company's development.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that a business like yours and others, that you've invested into that technology, and as a supplier and maintainer that we are, and other companies, it enables us to support you better. If you've got new equipment, that benefits everybody because it's equipment we can manage properly for you. So that's always really important for us as well, not just as you as a customer, but for us to give you good service. It's about having the best tech on site to do it with. So thank you for that as well.
Well, the cost, that's part of the cost that I included in my assessment. The cost of repairing and maintaining what we had was going up and up and up, though the value of the product was going down and down.
Brilliant. Alan, thank you ever so much. So just in closure, really, the business landscape has changed. The familiar playbooks and proven approaches are now outdated. As the workplace adjusts and customer demands more, the need for better communication and collaboration has never been more prevalent. it's vital to have the right IT and communications in place to allow your business to not only operate at an optimum level, but to provide peace of mind that is able to adapt, flex and scale when needed. Never has it been more important to be operational 24/7, be productive anywhere and protect what matters most. Only if your equipment, your business and resilient IT communications, will you be ready to mitigate disruption when change happens. After all, that's what every business wants. Finally, thank you to Alan for joining me today. It was really insightful and thought-provoking to hear about your business. And I look forward to welcoming you all to the next Be Ready webinar in the coming months. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.